Well, what an FA Cup tie that was for Newcastle United. We got there in the end, we got the outcome we were looking for. Was it pretty in places? No. Was it convincing in other areas? No. But Newcastle United got what they needed from that, and that was to get through. I'm not sure where that leaves some tired bodies ahead of that game against Manchester City. But, you know, in his press conference, Eddie Howe just then basically admitting that he's having to put players at risk. Those were his words in the press conference. I'm putting players at risk. Certainly going into extra time. And, you know, players like Sandro Tonali were, you know, running on empty by the end of that game. I think Eddie Howe himself giving Tonali a massage during that extra time sort of break. But look, I think Eddie's players there today really stepped up for him when a result was needed. Yes, it is all about Manchester City in some ways, and today, had Newcastle gone out, I think it would have been disappointing, but I think some people would have thought that's maybe the one that you sacrifice. I don't know, because for me, if Newcastle lost today and then you move on to Manchester City on Tuesday and you get beat again and it's a painful result, you don't have the FA Cup to fall back on. As we stand here now, Newcastle have got the FA Cup still to fall back on, and Champions League, of course. But look, I think today, what a game. I mean, going 1-0 up through Harvey Barnes, man of the moment, Newcastle's best player at the moment, best defensive player. 1-0 up, everything seemed to be going well, and then 2 goals conceded in 6 minutes. It was sloppy from Newcastle. They lost control. It was a bit like Burnley revisited in places. That second half in Burnley, which, you know, we don't want to talk too much about because it was obviously quite a sensitive one. The last time we did discuss it on this video and in other press conferences. But, you know, for me, I think if we're being truthful, you've got to say Newcastle have the fighting spirit. They have players in this squad who are playing for the badge. That's all we ask for. And today, even going into the last throes of that match, Newcastle would not give up, and I think that's a massive quality. Sandro Tonali, as I say, run on empty, but managing to get in the box and win a penalty, and then Anthony Gordon steps up. The guys had some criticism, some of it fair in the eyes of some of it unfair. I think Anthony Gordon is a threat for Newcastle, but he showed nerves of steel to step up and score that penalty today. Made it 2-2, and then, you know, it looked like he laid on the winner for Harvey Barnes at the back post, and then that looked like the perfect FA Cup script, certainly for headline writers, newspaper writers. Looked like it was a perfect sort of night, summed up. But Newcastle again, unfortunately, just found a way to throw Bournemouth a lifeline just when you'd almost filed your match report. Bournemouth step up again. It was a really bad goal to concede. Let's be honest, Lewis Hall was eased off the ball too easily on his side. Sven Botman was weak. He didn't make enough of an attempt to stop Tavernier. He's got to be stronger than that. And then it was just dispatched past Ramsdale to make it 3-3 and send it to penalties. And then, you know, it's almost anyone's game at that point. And then on the penalties, you know, Newcastle in the game, unconvincing at times. As I say, Aaron Ramsdale, he did make some good saves. There were also some bad moments for him. But look, he emerged the hero. He saved 3 penalties in a shootout. You cannot ask more than that. It boosted his overall player rating. It helped him get a better mark than he was going to get had Newcastle gone out in another way. But he made those 3 saves. I thought he was the inspiration in extra time. He revelled in the moment. He stepped up to the plate and, you know, got Newcastle into round 4, and that's all you can ask for. But yeah, overall, the penalty shootout, your heart goes out to Nick Walter-Marder and Bruno missing the penalties, but the team dug deep and helped them out. And I thought Joe Linton and Tonali's penalties were key. And, you know, there was some cool moments on there, but it was also a very stressful watch. And I think really when we move back from this and sit and watch it in the cool light of day, it'll certainly be entertaining. I asked Eddie Howe about that in his press conference. I said, is this entertainment, but is it a little bit too close for comfort? Unfortunately, Newcastle go through. That's all we're bothered about. It's moving on to Man City on Tuesday night. Newcastle will be tired. I don't think they'll be doing too much training before then, but they live to fight another day, and they're still fighting in all competitions. So fantastic entertainment overall. But yeah, it's a little bit close for comfort, but Newcastle are through, and that's all that matters.